Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about an article that I read recently, shared with Josh. Um, Basics of the article are that a new chip has been created that is the width of a hair, I think it said, like a piece of hair. And it's supposed to go a chip on the brain and stream your thoughts to AI. So we're going to stream our thoughts about whether that's a good idea or not. Josh, you want to give some initial thoughts?
Generally, I don't like putting things in my brain.
I would
Here's my
agree.
initial thought.
Yeah, no, there are two sides of this argument, I think. The first one is, okay, yes, it probably will help people with disabilities, like someone who can't speak, stream thoughts to AI and allow them to speak. It might help people who are paralyzed to be able to walk again. However, there is also the other side of the argument that says most inventions, once used for their initial purpose, are used for other purposes as well. And so this chip, I can totally see going past the use of disability or the people with disabilities using it. And then it starts just being used by normal people. And then eventually I would not be surprised if it starts being required by certain industries or companies or whatever in order to be more productive and more efficient, which at that point gets very, very scary.
Right. Yeah. One-way transmission, I think, would be better than two-way transmission, although I still don't really like the idea, other than I'm truly paralyzed and this would fundamentally change how I live. Two-way transmission seems a bit more sketchy, like, oh, you can take things out of my brain as well as put them back in. However, now that I'm thinking about it, if it's really designed for helping people with like paralysis or whatever, then by definition, there probably is two-way transmission, because you're going to have to put signals back in with some kind of feedback. Maybe that's incorrect. I'm
I
not even
think
sure if
part
the
of the
article went into
paralysis
that.
thing is like if you could stream to an AI robot. So as someone who's paralyzed, potentially you could stream different thoughts, which honestly, even just saying that, even just like saying that sentence, stream your thoughts to AI is very
Yeah.
matrixy, I guess. So yeah, but that's how I think it'd work, is you would stream thoughts to like a robot who could then do stuff for you without you having to go type something in or talk out loud. I don't know. It's interesting.
I wonder how much, like we had previous talk about like learning and writing, and I guess a concern with this for me is that if your stream of consciousness, besides the fact that there's a chip in your brain and your stream of consciousness to eat AI, and also like how is that AI getting in between you and the world and augmenting your senses of it? Oh man, there's so much science fiction that makes you think of. But like you were saying at work, if some employers require it or whatever to be more productive, if it is stream of consciousness and then interpreting your stream of consciousness, will it inhibit our ability to be creative and innovate further? Because it's doing the synthesizing of thoughts into a product instead of that work being done in our brains. Maybe I just totally fundamentally misunderstand how people will use it, but I did have that thought. If it's just stream of consciousness, which I just don't like that idea.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you before we got on, like, I don't even like my own thoughts lots of times. I don't think I'm what other people or machines privy to my thoughts.
Yeah, I think the weirdest part of the phrase stream of consciousness or stream of thoughts or whatever is stream. Like, is there a way to shut it off? If there's still the risk that even if there is a way to shut it off, somehow AI can not cause it to shut off. But
Right.
I would feel more safe, I guess, if there was a way to shut off thoughts that go to AI versus the thoughts that I didn't want to go to AI, because then at least, which I'm still not going to get the chip, uh, probably for my lifetime. I don't see any reason why I would get the chip. But if there was a way to shut it off, I would be more likely to than not. However, I mean, I don't necessarily have any disabilities that would require the chip. And so giving that kind of access to AI from my brain would be a little bit weird.
Yes, totally agree. The What do you think? Yeah, my opinions on prompting AI currently are that you can do it sloppily or you can do it well. And I think that doing it well is akin to somebody was talking to me about this, and their comment was they felt like AI prompting was not going to assist people in being better thinkers. And my comment was, I don't know that it's going to hurt us all that much, uh, other than there's probably going to be a larger divide between the people who have no interest in learning and developing and the people who do, because I just don't see much of a difference between learning how to prompt something correctly. The process of thinking about how to make a proper request so that you get the outcome you want, I don't see how there's any difference between that and just learning to think. Because like that's what you do in real life when you interact with people is you're trying to predict 3 steps in the future how somebody gonna, as a manager or whatever, take my instructions and totally botch it.
Yeah.
um but I want to make it as foolproof as possible.
Yeah.
Uh, so but this one is like it doesn't even include that part. uh I think so. That's a little concerning to me.
Yeah. No,
um
I do agree. I think, well, if you strip it down, you're prompting people. So it's not prompting an AI versus prompting people. It's just you look at the tendency of whatever you're prompting, and then you try to communicate in a way that effectively communicates your position to that person.
mhm.
However, humans are fundamentally different than AI. So there is a big difference. But if you were to just strip it down to the baseline, that's kind of what it is. So I agree. I
Right.
think that prompting actually causes you to think a lot more than most people would give it credit for. However, communicating to an AI is a little different than communicating to a human. Yeah,
Mhm.
but in this case, it feels like just whatever you think goes to AI. So if you think I want this kind of food, you're not giving AI a role like if you would prompt saying, "You are a food strategist. Here's my nutrition plan. Can you please?" It's just like, "Oh man, I kind of want some chicken right now," which is, I feel like, a lot different. So I, well, I guess the reason why I don't know that it matters is because of the pace of AI improvement. And I do believe that soon enough there will be general intelligence where an AI, it doesn't really matter how you prompt it. And instead it
Mhm.
matters, like something different matters because AI is so good at assuming, I guess, just like some some humans are good at assuming, like when you ask them to do something, they have context behind it. And so AI will have context behind who you are and what you like. And so then you don't really have to care about prompt, or it will automatically take on the best role. Because I think that would be something that would be helpful with AI. Right now, you have to kind of give it a role. Hey, you're my business mentor. Please walk me through this different decision. Here's some context. But if you were able to give AI a task and it said, okay, here's the task. I'm going to take on this role because this is the task at hand. I think that would be a pretty big improvement on where AI is right now. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's totally different than what the chip's doing, I think.
I think assuming a role, it would actually be a good advancement for AI. I guess my thinking on that is uh, I'll believe it when I see it. Oh, as humans, we've not experienced that. Humans kind of do that. I suppose it's not unreasonable to come to the conclusion that an AI would eventually develop the ability to just assume a role based on whatever crappy input you gave it. Because humans can do that. It just might pick the wrong one. Interacting with humans is weird too, in that we have preferences that are not logical. I was listening to, oh, who's the guy? He wrote another book. It's like 16 things that influence your buying decisions. What's the name of that book? It's like the illusion of choice, or uh I can't remember. It's a recent book. And he was mentioning again how consumers, when you ask them why they purchased this thing versus this thing, they'll articulate something in retrospect, but and I can't remember how they tested it. Basically, I'm just telling an anecdote because I don't remember any of the details. Uh, but it was like the consumers didn't actually know why they purchased the thing, the 6-pack instead of the 3-pack of whatever. But after they did it and you asked them, they could come up with a logical reason. But it was just like an impulse while they were standing there in the store. And I can't remember how they came to that conclusion. But it reminds me of a graphic designer that I know that was articulating, I don't think AI will ever fully take my job because that would require the client to know what they wanted before they talk to me. Because it seems like so much of what I do is to generate ideas and drafts and show the client, and then like, no, no, oh, I like that, no. Or sometimes it's just no across the board because whatever they vaguely imagined is not what you put on the page. So I don't know. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I do think, did the article say that, because it talked about epilepsy, and that I could have sworn it said something about prompting or like detecting an epileptic episode and then uh, making it not happen. What
Yeah, I
was it?
think
What
that
was it?
is one of the different disabilities that it can work with because it also said other stuff as well.
Have you ever heard of the book Terminal Man by Michael Crichton?
Um, I've heard of it,
Not to
but
be confused with the movie that included Tom Hanks, where he's in a airplane
I've
airport.
probably heard of the movie, not the movie.
Yeah, uh, which I think also comes from a book, but I don't remember what the name of that one is. So, Terminal Man by Michael Crichton uh, is, if you haven't read any Michael Crichton, I highly recommend it. Great writer. Very much enjoyed it. Although, as I get older and have children, I'm less likely to read his books because sometimes they are a bit brutal, and it makes me sad easily. um, Terminal Man is a story about a guy who has a certain kind of seizure that makes him aggressive right before the seizure happens, and they give him a brain implant that gives him a shock or stimulates his I can't remember what gland in his brain that gives him adrenaline. And the piece of equipment, no, what is it? Yeah. So if he's about to have an epileptic event, this device gives him a little bit of a pleasure shock to keep it from happening. And the premise of the book is that his brain figures out when I do this thing, it feels good. So it keeps doing it. So basically, his brain gets him to the point of having a seizure constantly and getting a dopamine hit. But the problem is he gets aggressive right before it happens. So he basically becomes a serial murderer. And the rest of the book is like trying to track the guy down. Uh, it very much reminded me of I'm sure that is like most people before they have a seizure probably don't become murderers, but
Yeah.
I did think of that sci-fi in real life. One of
Yeah.
the implications. Now
Yeah.
you were mentioning before we got on a book.
I was about to talk,
You
I
want
was
to talk
gonna
about that?
mention that a little bit. So the book I'm reading is called Against the Machine by Paul Kingsnorth. And I actually think if you read it, we should do a whole episode on this because of how interesting and it just makes you aware of the quote unquote system. But it's also not like a conspiracy theory type of book where they're like, well, I bet that this is what happened back in this time and this is why criminals are running the world. It's not like that. It's like here here is what's been happening throughout all of history and here's why in the name of progress sometimes new things are created just like without questioning whether they should be created or not. And honestly, I think that's kind of what's happening with this chip. Like, okay, I in no way would ever want to limit people with disabilities. Like, if there was the possibility to give people with disabilities ability back, I think that's a great thing. And so I would never want to limit that. However, you, we all know what's going to happen next. And so there's got to be a way to limit the next steps after helping these people with disabilities because then people are just going to be implanted with brain chips. And honestly, I could see at some point in the future, in the name of progress, babies just have these automatically implanted because that's going to make them more superhuman. And if we were to get to that point, or honestly, when we get to that point, it's going to create a huge divide. So it's going to go from we're helping people with disabilities to we're creating superhumans. Whoever doesn't have the chip is not going to be as productive. So they're not going to get jobs. They're not going to be able to do like normal things that the internet allows you to do at that point in history. And then we're going to have these superhumans who are faster, stronger, better, smarter. It's going to be really interesting to see. But the reason the book
Mm-hmm.
made me think about it is because the book is all about progress for the sake of progress, no matter what. Like there has basically the world is built around economic and uh well honestly mostly economic progress. Like how can we make more money? How can we make things faster? Everything is about productivity and no one stops to question whether that's actually something we should be pursuing or if we should pursue more individual communities, more relationships, and less like huge cities where it's all about financial gain. It's super interesting. That's why I think you should read it, and we should do a podcast episode on it. But
Okay.
yeah,
Uh,
this shit made me think of
the
that a lot.
I guess, do you think there's something wrong with pursuing wealth?
Not
Like,
inherently.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
say that.
And
Go ahead.
go ahead. No.
Um, I would say that not inherently. There is not something bad in pursuing wealth. Pursuing wealth can be neutral. However, if the whole world is built around wealth, humans are not able to control themselves. That's my thought. Is like there
Mm,
will be the people who are pursuing more and more wealth no matter what. That it's
mm-hmm,
just that's basically a law at this point. There will be those people. And so a culture built around how much wealth can you accumulate is going to fail at some point because of this.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I vacillate on like there's definitely a level of wealth that well, that's not true. It's not a level of wealth. It's a behavior with a level of wealth that I think most common people disdain. To say that everybody who is a billionaire has that type of egregious behavior, I think would be unfair. And but I will say I am definitely coming to the opinion that extreme levels of wealth creates opportunities for me that I haven't previously thought of. So like I was zero chance of me ever purchasing the original iPhone, zero chance of me ever purchasing a Tesla. But as these things come out and people spend what I consider to be absurd amounts of money on them because it's such a small percentage of their wealth, or really it's the people that are making 50K that go out and buy a 80K car, a Tesla.
Yeah.
That to me is like irresponsibility. But
Yeah.
people have to do that in order for me to eventually get an electric car. So I always am a little sympathetic on the other side of, well, pursuit of wealth to the point of irresponsible spending. But if you have that amount of wealth, it's not irresponsible for you, I would say. Is in some ways helpful. So I am a techno optimist. However, I do agree with you that people can't control themselves. I mean, just look at social media. My wife was using my Twitter account recently,
You have
and she
Twitter?
finally deleted it off her phone because she was like, "This is just total garbage." I still have it, and there's like 3 people that I follow just because I'm interested in their specific topics. But yeah, the access to all of the anonymous comments of the universe is a terrible thing, and most people can't control it. I somehow am able to, but it's probably because I'm curmudgeonly and don't know how to use Twitter or search for things. So it takes me 15 times longer than anybody else to find what I want, and therefore it's just frustrating. Um,
Ignorance is bliss.
Winston Churchill, right? Winston Churchill wrote a super interesting essay called 50 Years Hence, I think is the title of it. And it was post World War I, pre World War II. And I've recommended that, I don't know, 5 or 6 times to different people, especially during COVID, because it was spot on and kind of around the same lane that you're saying. He takes sort of a survey of history and talks about how people's moral abilities or people's ability to progress technologically seems to outpace their moral abilities to control what they create. And the end of the essay ends with the quote from, I think it's Deuteronomy, where Moses is writing in for God, saying, choose blessing or cursing, and choose death or life based on like you can follow these things and be prosperous, or you can violate them and get in trouble and die. And he comments in there that in a postmodern, this is my paraphrase, in a postmodern secular society without some overlying morality to help you navigate the we can but should we, then one of the only ideologies is communism, because it does have sort of a religious fervor to it, and it has a way of dealing with material world. It's just a terrible way of dealing with the material world. Disparities in materials equals power. Power disimbalances are bad. Equalize it. And he talks about how that's a dangerous philosophy, and a lot of the Western world is not prepared to deal with secular materialism. Anyway, interesting essay. Highly recommend reading it. It reminded me of what you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, the other part is there has to be someone pushing the communism, which means they have to be in power, which means it's already not communism. I mean, like, I guess technically, maybe you could say that the country is communist, but there is someone with more power than everyone else who is pushing the communism. So it's like not equal. But yeah, that's super interesting. Um,
I think
we're-
there's an argument to say that no political system has ever been accurately tried. I mean, like even in democratic or republic or whatever government system you have, it's never a pure that thing. There's always some sort of a welfare thing tied on to it, or like I, I, the straw or the steel man of the people that say communism's never been tried because look at Lenin and Stalin, they weren't really communists. Is like, I think it's dumb, but the steel man argument would be, okay, I agree with you, but also in the way that I agree with you, I would say no political system has ever been a pure whatever it says it is. Anyway,
yeah,
that
no,
was
I would
sort of
agree with
aside.
that. I think going back to the chips, the
But yeah,
the thing that makes me think about the book is the fact that yes, this technology could be used for great good, but I know that humans are not inherently, I mean, they are good, but there are humans who are going to take this further than it should be taken. Wh- Wherever, like whatever that line is, there will be people who take it further than that if we have this technology that can do it. I'm not saying that the scientists who created these chips are going to be the ones to take it further than it should be taken. But once you
Mhm.
have the science to create these chips, someone else is going to create the chips. Someone else is going to create the chips. Someone's going to create an even better chip that can do more with less. And then at that point, you don't really have control over uh, what is being done with the chips. I could go a lot more, but I think that we should do a second podcast on Against the Machine.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Well, in that case, I don't have anything else. So like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify if you liked the episode. And send us an email at jc.unscripted@gmail.com because we want to hear what you guys have to say. That's the pod. We'll see you next podcast.